Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Open Cluster Management Community meeting. Today is February 13, 2026. Really excited today to have Q to present the Q integration with OCM. Q, whenever you're ready, please feel free to take it away.
Yeah, okay, let me share my screen. Okay, yeah, yeah, I think the background is this is some progress that we have made around the cluster profile API, and cluster profile API is standard in the SIG multi-cluster to represent the cluster, and there's a features in the cluster profile, so you can build the kubeconfig with the credentials with the plugin and the cluster profile. So then, for example, the controllers is able to read the cluster profile and use the libraries in the cluster inventory API to build the kubeconfig and access to the remote cluster. So this work is to support the cluster profile credential or access providers in open cluster management and also with since Q is already support cluster profile, so in general with this integration the Q can directly using the cluster profile and using OCM as a cluster manager to provide the credentials. So this is a Q website. We have thanks for Haoqing that we have put a link on how to integrate with cluster profile using OCM and put that page in the link in the Q website. And you can see here the link to our website that describe how that could be used. Certainly, it will not only for Q, but also other controllers like Argo CD and other custom controllers. So in general, currently it is alpha feature. So in OCM, there is some setup steps. The first one is you need to enable the feature gate of cluster profile in the cluster manager. So then um, the OCM will starting to managing will convert the managed cluster API resources to cluster profile resources. One thing that is special for OCM is that because cluster profile is a namespace scope resource, so but managed cluster is a cluster scope resource. So the question is which namespace we will create the cluster profile. So current design is the user or the application need to decide. For example, the application or the controller need to create a managed cluster set or need to create managed cluster set bindings in their controller's namespace. And then the OCM will project the managed cluster to cluster profile in this namespace. Um, for example, in the Q case, the we will need to create a queue. We will need to create a cluster set bindings in the queue system namespace, and then all the clusters in that cluster set will be converted to cluster profile in this namespace. Um, and then as here, the example creating the cluster set bindings in my app namespace, and then you can basically say cluster profiles. Each one represent a managed cluster in a managed cluster set. Uh, and then there is another several add-ons that need to be enabled in the in the in the in OCM to support the whole flow. The first one is cluster proxy. So cluster proxy is to provide the connection from the hub to the managed cluster. Um, and currently it is to enable this feature gate when install the cluster proxy, and then the cluster proxy will update the cluster profile API, the access providers part um, of the cluster profile API with the URL that cluster proxy provide and the C bundle of the cluster proxy. So then the controller will be able to know what's the endpoint of each cluster represented by the cluster profile. And then another add-on is a managed service account, which is to provide the credentials to access the managed cluster. So also there's one that feature gate to be enabled in the managed service account, and then uh, the managed service account will provide a secret in the app's namespace as here, and then to access to the managed cluster or to the managed cluster. So then there is also a binary plugin in the managed service account that you would need to mount um, into their let's say into their controller. So the controller will be able to use that binary, execute binary to get the credential and for the certain managed cluster. So this is one of the service accounts that is created an example of the service account. So you need to create this service account in the namespace of the in the cluster namespace with a certain label, seeing that this is used in the cluster profile, and then this service account will create the managed service account related secret on the managed service account will be synced to the namespace of the cluster profile. So also there's another one called add-on, which is it is optional because this is not to provide. So with another two add-on like managed service account and cluster proxy, the the controller should be able to use the execute binary to access a remote cluster. But it doesn't guarantee that but there's a missing part is RBAC, like what's a permission that controller should have. The user either can create RBAC in the remote cluster for the certain service account that has been created by the managed service account, or the user can create cluster permission resources on the hub, and then this permission will be automatically set to the managed service account. So after that, the consumer, how to consumer use that is like there's two option, which is also defined in the Q's website. But here we also put two options. One is you will need to you can use the init container, and there is already a binary in this image. So you can copy this binary into into this path. And for example, for Q or city controller, they can do like this, and then the controller mount will need to mount this to their container. And then the kubeconfig that is built will find this one and use that as a way to access a credential. So this is using the init container way. And there's another possible way after 135 Kubernetes, which is because in the Kubernetes 135 is starting to support mounting the image as a volume. So you can also mount this image because the binary is in this image, and then mount this into the controller, and then it's also can use that. Um, so so that's here. That's how it can be done. Like in the cluster profile, what the cluster proxy will provide is the endpoint that you can access a managed cluster and the CA data to access. And also there is some extension like currently it's just a cluster name. So the binary here that mounted to the controller will use this endpoint, CA data, and to build a kubeconfig and also put this config into the credential plugin, which then return the token for building the kubeconfig. Um, and let me share you a demo video. Uh, yeah, okay. Can you see my demo?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so this is one that have one hub cluster and two managed cluster. In OCM, the environment has been already built. And also there's four add-ons that has been uh, installed in Screen Cluster Permission Proxy, Manage Service Account, and Queue add-on. The reason that we have Queue add-on here is as in the doc, like there is a way the user need to create a service account in each managed cluster and setting that to project to the cluster profile. Where this is how Queue add-on work here. The Queue add-on will automatically create a managed service account named as Q in each cluster and set those managed service account to project it to a cluster profile. Um, and also there is also some other capability like scheduling about on the Q job, but that's not quite related to the cluster profile integration. Um, and then there will need to be it will check the feature gate like in the cluster manager we need to enable the cluster profile and also for the cluster proxy enable the feature gate also in the managed service account also the feature gate. So the feature gate currently is a little bit different, but we will I think in the next char release of this add-on, we will change the feature gate to the same as cluster profile, so it's much easier to understand. So similar as Q add-on that also need to enable the cluster profile. So this is to show that the queue has been created on all the hub on the hub and managed cluster. You can see that this has been installed on the hub cluster and the two managed cluster. And there's two multi-queue cluster created. So currently the status is still false. This is because we haven't enabled the cluster profile in the queue controller. Now we're starting to do that. So this is a queue's multi-queue cluster. So it reference to a cluster profile. But the status is not correct because the multi-queue cluster profile feature has not been enabled yet. So the next step is to enable so this is a queue configuration. Uh, this is actually can be done using the multi-queue. This also has been showed in our doc and the queues doc that you need to first enable the feature gate and also set up the credential providers. Uh, so the credential providers will be used as a config, and then this config will be used by the queue controller to know which plugin it should be used in the cluster profile and what's a certain plugin binary it should be used to get the credential. So here the provider is Open Cluster Management. This is a binary which is in the in the image that should be mounted to the queues controller, and we also have parameter that tell the plugin that you need to use this at multi-queue managed service account to retrieve the credential. Okay, so and then there's another thing that we need to do for the queue is we need to mount the image, like including the binary into the queue controller manager. So here is just a patch the deployment of queue controller by adding a volume that is actually an image and also setting the mount path. And when this has all been done, you will see that um, the two molecule cluster is connected, which means that it has been able to get the credential from the cluster profile and plug in here, and then set up the connections to the remote cluster. And after that, the molecule is able to submit the job to the different cluster. So yeah, you can see here this the status correct. So yeah, I think that's all of the demo. This is very interesting because which means that the integration between for the molecule, they don't need to like to know about managed cluster resource or any other providers API. Just connect to the cluster profile, and then what we need for the open cluster management point of view is just to follow the standard in the cluster profile to provide a credential provider. So no matter which consumer, as long as it supports cluster profile, it is able to use the same way to access the remote cluster. Okay, that's all. Any questions?
This is really awesome. Thank you, Kuchang, and everyone that worked on this. Just one question. Like I noticed the image is using the latest tag, but it works
Mhm.
with our latest release, like the 1.2.
Yes, so that's is in the managed service account. So, in the yeah, but it's not the tag is not 1.2. I think it's 0.10 for managed service account.
Got
Yes.
it. Got it.
But we probably will need to have another release made sooner. One thing is to change the feature gate to make it more easily to understand, and also uh, to I think yeah, there might be some fix that we would need to put into another release of managed service account.
This is great. Thank you. I see Anne here. And do you have a question regarding this integration, or you have other questions? I don't want to, hold.
Yeah, no,
Or
I don't have a question regarding this integration, but it's cool because I think we were also waiting for the cluster profile. So it's good that I joined and I will take a look at this. I am now blanking on my question. I think I just had a basically I introduced a change, I think, for the way that the status, like the successful count works, like replacement rolled out to be true. And I noticed there was a bug in it for rollout strategy all. So I just wanted to bring it up in this call, see if anyone else had noticed that. If not, I'll probably send out a fix for it, or I like don't know if it's already fixed in the latest um, like change.
I don't think so. I'm not sure whether Haoqing knows that, but I don't think
Okay,
anyone is working on that.
okay. I'll just send. I'll check if it's on the latest branch. I just haven't had time, so I just wanted to pop in and see if anyone like saw that issue.
Yes, thank
Um,
you.
okay.
Yeah. And also for the manifest work replica sets, the name of the manifest
Yeah.
work gem and the manifest work replica set, I'm trying to fix that if you are not
Okay.
working on it.
I'm
But
not
they,
working on it. Yeah.
yeah, cool.
And then
And
there's another, oh,
yeah,
just on the same topic. I think there's a label that gets generated, right? For the
Mhm. Yes.
manifest work replica set name and the namespace. And I noticed that if it total is bigger than 63, there's will be an issue in the manifest work replica set. So I'm not sure if the generate name right now accounts for that Kubernetes resource limit.
Generate name will be fine. But
Okay,
I think the label will be tricky. I need to take a look at that also.
okay. Just since you're working on that, like I guess combining those two things, I just want to let you know because we saw that like if it's longer, it just gets generated, but then I think it's like
Yeah,
lost or someone couldn't edit it, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I see.
Okay. Were you gonna
Okay.
say something else just now
No,
before I
no,
brought up the
no.
label?
I just I will try to fix it, but I may start working on that after Chinese New Year, so it will be like.
Okay, that's fair. I also am going to be not working during Chinese
Oh,
New Year, so
okay,
yeah.
great.
Okay, but yeah, I will try to fix that, send out that bug with the what I saw with the succeeded cluster. There's something wrong with for rollout strategy all. Um, but I don't think it's in the latest release, so it should be okay. I think I merged my change after the release was done. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
cool. Thank you.
and just another thing, while we were on the topic of cluster profile, we're also trying to help Argo CD to adopt cluster profile as well. They actually kicked off a initial meeting. When I say they, I mean the Argo CD maintainers. So if you're interested in the recording, I can share it as well.
Yeah, please share it because we're trying to build a multi-cluster plugin, and that's why like we're trying to use the cluster profile as a way to get the context for the multi-cluster plugin to work. And we're sort of working on that right now, and we'll share when it's like done. But it's sort of just POC right now. But we depend on that cluster profile. So yeah, share the discussion with Argo CD. Would be interested.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Those were great discussions. Are there any other questions, comments? Well, thank you all for joining. Have a nice day. Take care, everyone. See you next time.
Thanks.
See you.